Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Idham Solihin bin Saad. We will discuss about hearing impairment based on 3 patients that we get from documentaries. The patients are Rachel Cobb, Derrick Coleman Jr, and Christine Liu. First of all, what is hearing impairment? Hearing impairment occurs when there is a problem or damage to one or more parts of the ear. A person with a hearing impairment has a full or partial loss of the ability to hear and discriminate sounds. There is 5 types of hearing impairment, which is conductive hearing loss, sensorineural hearing loss, mixed hearing loss, central hearing loss, and auditory processing disorder or APD. So, how people can have hearing impairment? There are many causes that can make someone to have hearing impairment. Among them are genetic disorder, injuries to their ear or head, complication during pregnancy or birth, infection or illness, medications, and loud noise. So now, this is our patient that we will discuss. We will start with Rachel Cobb. She is having hearing impairment since she was born. Now, she is a junior fellow in the Society of Fellows at Harvard University. She is also a writer, a scholar, and disability advocate. She also had PhD in English literature at Emory University, Atlanta. Then we have Derrick Coleman Jr. He is having hearing impairment since he was 3 years old. Now, he is a former American football player. Lastly, we have Christine Liu. She is having hearing impairment since she was 3 years old. Now, she is the Director of Accessibility and Advocate at Doppler Lab, the company behind Hear One.
Hi, my name is Mohamad Saifullah, and in this part, we will see the development that have been through by these 3 patients. The first one is Rachel Cobb. So let's see a short clip about Rachel Cobb.
My invitation to speak at TEDx clashed with some of my previous conceptions of what I can and can't do. I was born profoundly deaf, and learning to speak was not easy. Think about it for a second. When you can't hear, how do you learn to speak? I could have chosen to use sign language today instead, and that would have been a perfectly viable choice. But for me, the answer was in 2 years of speech therapy.
So Rachel Cobb was born profoundly deaf. She was born in a family that her parent doesn't know anything about the sign language. In scope of development, Rachel used lip reading and sign language in order to communicate with other people. Their parents also play a big role in her development. For example, at the age at 8 years old, Rachel Cobb insists her parents to allow her to learn riding horse. However, things not go well with the riding instructor, so her parents make a decision to search another instructor that can accept her disability and teach how to riding a horse. In this case, her parents are using Erickson's theory of psychosocial development in stage 4, which is industry versus inferior. Erickson's theory states that if we receive recognition from our teacher or peers, we will become industrious, which is, in other words, is hardworking. If we got too much negative feedback, we will start to feel inferior and lose motivation. In the middle school, things got a bit harder for Rachel. That makes she thinks that communicate with other people was an utter failure. It happened when she was about to give presentations, but the teacher gave a negative comment about her accent, and that made her really down. However, it doesn't break Rachel's heart, so she just ignored every negative comment that she got until she became a very confident and talk like a normal person until now. That's about the development of Rachel Cobb. So now let's go to the second patient, which is Derrick Coleman Jr.
Hi, my name is Derrick Coleman. I'm a fullback/running back for the Seattle Seahawks, and I'm also hearing impaired. Ever since I was 4 years old, I've been wearing hearing aids. If you wasn't really my immediate family, I didn't really talk to you. My parents used to take me everywhere with them and kind of force me into those situations. basically made me who I am today, made me a very talkative person.
So at the age of 3 years old, his parents noticed that something was wrong about their son. So his parents brought Derrick to audiologists and found that their son diagnosed a hearing impairment, and at his young age he needs to use hearing aids. So his parents really helped him a lot during his childhood, where they sent him to speech therapies and learn how to read lips. In this scope of development, I think the most theory that suits Derrick Coleman Jr. is Vygotsky theory in scaffolding. This is because Derrick always getting bullied at school, and because of he got hearing impairment, no one wants to friends with him. This makes Derrick really disappointed with himself. However, with their parents always on his side, they always give a moral support that can make Derrick think positive and can be a successful person even though he is a disability person. Because of that, Derrick found another way which make him acceptable in society, where at the age of 13 years old, he joined a sport from basketball and then football. Since then, it has really changed Derrick's life into a more successful one and become the pride of his parents. Let's take Derrick as an example, where even if you have hearing impairment or any other disability, you just need to stay focused and always believe on your parents. That's it for the second patient in the terms of development. Nothing is possible if you keep positive thoughts within yourself. Now let's go with the third patient, which is Christian Yu.
I was born in Stanford, California. I was a pound and a half when I was born. I was 3 months premature.
At the age of 2.5 years old, when she was talking with her sister, her parents noticed that she was not talking the same as her sister. So her parents decided to do a hearing check and found that she has a severe hearing loss. It really hard for their parents and herself to go through this situation. The effect from hearing loss comes at school, where people treat her differently. It's such a negative development that she gone through. The most heartbreaking moment was at the age of 10 years old, when she was rejected by her friends to play together, and he realized that he will go through like this on her entire life. However, based on Erickson theory in stage 4, children at the age of 5 to 12 years old are able to define industry versus inferior. Same goes with the first patient, where Kristen always think positive and never look at what people say to her. It shows that she joined a sport like basketball in order to fight the negative thoughts and become as a normal person. Erickson theory said if someone receives recognitions, he or she will have an eager to be better and better. Well, it worked for Kristen Yu, where at the age of 26 years old, she was leading a national sales division, which is great successful for someone that have hearing loss. I think that's all for the development in Kristen Yu. Based on 3 patients, I can conclude that all of them have a similarity with joining a sport as a next step to keep on believe that they can be same as a normal person. So I will pass to Idham Solihin for the next part of our presentation.
For the support system, I want to start with the physical support. Generally, all of 3 patients using hearing aid, but for Rachel Cobb and Derrick Coleman Jr., they have extra support system. For Rachel Cobb, she is using a hearing aid at her right ear and cochlear implant at her left ear. For Derrick Coleman Jr., since he is an American football player, which is a contact sport, he used protective headgear to protect his ear. Other than that, for these 3 patients, all of their parents play an important role for their development. This we can look into Ecological theory that focus on contact which people live and people who influence their development. As we can see, this is microsystem, which is interaction with parent. Since all of them started having hearing impairment, their parent always support them and influence them to be like normal kid or people. Like Rachel Cobb, since they had difficulties to communicate with her, they try to learn another form of communication like sign language. They also help Rachel by finding tools like speech therapy to help her to communicate with other people. For Derrick Coleman Jr., his parents encourage him to play American football. They know that the sport is a contact type sport that can injure their son's ear, but they just want their son to be like normal people and don't want the disability bother him to not play the sport. Lastly, Kristen Liu. Her parents just let her to be independent like other people and don't want to let her hearing loss affect that she can be like others. Therefore, what we can see is all of these three parents want their children to be like normal people and don't want to let the hearing impairment can be the reason for their children to be different with others.
Hey guys, so in this video I'm going to tell about the challenges that are faced by the hearing impaired people. So the challenges that are faced by this group of people are really troublesome. Obviously, because they can't hear clearly or even they can't even hear anything of their surrounding sound. This will make them hard to communicate with others, especially with their friends and families. This will make them have a hard social life. This deafness proves that it will be a communication barrier between the people around them. It will be hard for this group of people to communicate with others because the others doesn't know their language. Some people doesn't even know that the person is deaf. So it will be hard for them to exchange information and communicate with each other. Then explained in her documentary that when she was a child, she wanted to play telephone with her friends. So telephone game is a game that requires people to whisper a word to each other. So when Kristen want to play with a friend, she doesn't even hear what her friend is saying. So her friend decided to put her out of the game so that she cannot join the game. This shows that the communication barrier of deaf really put an effect to the person, and people always try to put them down, try to demoralize them. Rachel Cobb in her video said that it is easy for them to communicate face to face or one person to one person, but it is a big challenges when they try to communicate in a group or with a large number of people at the same time, for example in a meeting. So what are the ways to overcome these challenges? Firstly, hearing impaired people usually wear an hearing aid or a cochlear device so that it can help them to hear what other people are saying and also hear the surrounding sound. This will make them understand what information that other people are giving them. But sometimes this device cannot be wear for a long time because the user will be discomfort, or the user will be discomfort. So they also decided to learn to go on to a speech therapy, which means that they can learn to read lips. And also Rachel Cobb said that she learned to pronounce sounds and talk through speech therapy, which she learned about the body vibration that we produce when we were talking, so that she can understand what word other people are saying, and so that she can speak it for herself.